Well, a very good evening and welcome to meeting Stanislas, Métropole du Grand Nancy. Fantastic sunny conditions as the sun begins to set, and we're going to have a great evening of track and field. So thank you very much for joining us as part of the World Athletics Continental Tour streams that we've seen on European Athletics channels over the summer. They're going for a couple of good months right now, and this meeting also an historic one that's seen some brilliant performances over the years. So thank you very much for choosing this evening to watch this meeting, and we'll take you through the action. So as you can see, we've started with the men's hammer competition, and we will see the likes of Paweł Fajdek, Poland, and also Jan Chaussinon, who has the best mark in Europe this year, the Frenchman. And as I often say with these streams, you quite often see athletes from the home country really making the most of the opportunity amid a high standard of competition, as well as hopefully some international performances from right around the world. And as you'd expect, yes, plenty of French athletes and also the French-speaking world, a number of them based in France. But look at that, a really nice crowd in as well for this meeting. So we'll take you through the men's hammer. I'll just mention through the full lineup then. So I mentioned Paweł Fajdek, Jan Chaussinon. We've got Marlin Hummel, the German, who's improved this year to 81.27. Christos Franciskakis of Greece, Vladimir Myslivchik of Czechia, Daniel Raba of Hungary, and Paul Cluseville of France. So a number of these athletes throwing their best ever in 2025. So lots to come, including sprints and shorter hurdles races. 400 metres is going to be a trial for the European Under-23 Championships for men and women, and 800 and 1500 up to that, closing the programme with the men's 1500 metres, but also some high jump, long jump. So as quite often we see, a few selected field events to highlight. Well, some action as well before the main programme got started, some pre-events if you like, so it's all available to view, the results that is, on the French Federation's results website. So that's Athle, A-T-H-L-E -liveresults.fr, Athle, A-T-H-L-E -liveresults.fr, and there you can follow along with the action as it happens. So early stage of proceedings in this hammer, and Christos Franciskakis, one of those, of course, you might have seen on our stream of the European Throwing Cup from Nicosia in March, and he's gone out to 74.21. Throwing just then was Armin Ceballos of Hungary. It looks like he was a late entrant added to the programme here. Yes, so here is Ceballos. Camera making it look like he's very close to us, as is the implement. Establishing swings then, rotational acceleration, unleashes with power. And I wonder whether he stayed on his feet there. See him rocking about close to that 75-metre line. So this meeting Stanislas in Nancy has a really interesting set of meeting records. Likes of Mike Rogers going sub-10 here in the past. real mix in terms of the meeting records. Some of them have been held for, well, I saw more than 20 years in one case. David Rudisha holding the men's 800 meeting record from 2011, so the year before he obviously set the world record and won gold at the London 2012 Olympic Games. So 73.33 for Armin Chabados, moves ahead of his Hungarian teammate. Such as the sunlight, it's actually quite difficult to track the hammer through the air, but you can see an effort there over 75 meters, but going, yes. So eventually the hammer finds a path to over 75 meters, but the landing spot was before it. So that's Volodymyr Myslivchuk, who's hauled the implement out to 71.42. So women's pole vaults also getting underway within the next 15 minutes or so. Men's long jump within the next half hour. And women's high jump within the next 45 minutes. Those are the main field events. It's part of this main programme. First track action in 10 minutes time. There's another athlete just trying to stay balanced. You can see that he was a little off-centre initially there. And that's Merlin Hummel. 5 athletes with a registered mark. Looks like Pavel Pajdek has actually pulled out of the competition, unfortunately. So maybe not a surprise, because he unfortunately got no mark at the European Athletics Team Championships for Poland. That was just last weekend. And I saw it commented that yes, he's had some issues recently and therefore wasn't 100%. And no surprise that he's not here, unfortunately. So sorry to tease that, having seen the entry list. But certainly when a thrower of the quality that he has gets no mark in a competition, an international competition, then you know that something is up. So wish him the best of luck as he tries to return to full fitness. You're watching live coverage of the meeting Stanislas. A few minutes away from the first track action. We're following the first round of the men's hammer. It's a wonderful crowd that's in so far, as you can see. And yeah, you know, before, let's say, the bulk of the main action has happened, you've got spectators lining the first corner there and filling out the stand. I saw that the tickets were advertised as well on the local tourism site, and the conditions seem to be really, really good for it. Did see some very hot weather at the European Team Championships, both right across Madrid and Maribor, where the second and third division were held in terms of the latter city in Slovenia. Slovenia promoted to the top division. And Belgium. Here's the Swiss athlete Angelika Mirza. Really has, over the last year or so, cemented herself as one of the world's best. Initially kind of entering the conversation when she won gold in Touer at the European Indoor Championships. Looked like Pascal Martinot-Lagarde just behind her. Yann Chaussinon also being introduced to the crowd. I think they're just going through some of the big contenders, the biggest names here. There's Clara Lieberman, the 800 metres. So, yeah, irrespective of event, we're not about to see an 800 metres involving a pole vaulter against an 800 metre. Maybe another idea for another day, but presenting some of the main athletes here. So we'll let the announcer bring in some of the key athletes here. That was Willem Bellossian, sprint hurdler, we'll see in action later against Pascal Martin-Lagarde. Don't often get to see some of the very best all together in one race. Athletes, Fleury, the distance runner, and Pascal Martin-Lagarde. Bet he gets a good reception. Yeah, wonderful to see that reception, and I think we have to enjoy watching him compete. He seems to have been around an awfully long time, but fourth and a fifth place finish at the Olympic Games. So many European medals consistently over the years. One of the few in Europe in his time, on his very best day, that can live with the extraordinary ability of so many Americans. In more recent times, you'd include the Spaniards Orlando Ortega and Asier Martinez in that.
Celle de déterminer quand arrivera ma fin de carrière, ce sera au championnat de France. Et si peut-être il y a une qualification au championnat du monde, bien sûr on dira pas non. Mais ce sera ma dernière à Nancy. J'ai couru pas mal de fois ici. Ça a toujours été des bons souvenirs. Donc voilà. Un grand merci d'être là, d'être présent. Je vais faire le boulot sur la piste et je vous fais un énorme bisou.
Et on sera forcément avec toi. Je pense qu'on peut se lever pour Monsieur Pascal Martin-Lagarde.
Pascal Martin-Lagarde. Great to see him get a good reception. Of course, a couple of European indoor title in 2015 and outdoor in 2018 in Berlin. Some of his greater achievements, along with those Olympic finals that I mentioned. A bit of a last-minute adjusting of the blocks there, but yeah, slightly unorthodox way to introduce. So this is an under-23 final, and it could help athletes qualify European under-23s in the 400 metres. So we've seen Laure and Falem, Benedict Kouakou and Mathilde Deku. Pousange Oye, and then this is Alex Do. And on the inside we'll see Léa Terry of the Lille Metropole Club. France should have good talent at this level. They actually won the European under-23 4x400 metre title by a real tiny margin. I think it was 0.02 of a second in Espoo 2 years ago in Finland, and they came down like a train in a four-way battle for victory, right on the line, and up against some decent athletes like Henriette Jaeger of Norway, and also the Swiss team and the Polish team who were just outside the medals. And then they did a very similar thing, an extraordinary comeback at the very end of the European Under-20 Championships, and those athletes have probably moved up to this Under-23 age group level above. Certainly one of those gold medalists was Benedetta Kouakou. So let's see how they go here. Charles Terry de Buzancre, Deku, Kouakou and Falem. So both of those occasions, French athletics social media was reminding everybody of what Floria Gay did in Zurich at the European Championships in 2014. They found it very, very reminiscent of that performance, particularly from Kouakou and from Louise Maraval, who was an individual medalist in the 4 hurdles and a former heptathlete, winning gold right at the end. So let's have a look here on the outside. I wonder if that is Kouakou or if it's Falem. Looks like Falem going well, and Alex Doe. So Doe from lane 4 and Falem from lane 8, with Kouakou now coming through with heavy strapping there, as you can see. So Alex Doe coming through there strongly, trying to get sight of that time on the clock. Certainly we'll have a look out for the result once it starts to come through. It's come up now as a 52.12 for Alex Doe. The standard for qualifying for Bergen is actually 55 seconds. Might think that's actually quite low, but those competing for the medals I think will be much, much faster, especially if Henriette Jaeger is there. Yemi Mary John was selected despite winning the title a couple of years ago, and they're both around the 50 points. So yeah, entry standard and medals I think is going to be a very different conversation. Kouakou second in 53.38 in the end. 300s ahead of Laurent Falem, 53.41. Okay, men's hammer throw final then. Jan Chaussinon has gone out to a meeting record 81.14. So that beats the previous best of Pavel Fajdek here in 2019. It was 80.82. So it's only 32 centimetres to that. Merlin Hummel in second place. In the second round, he's gone out to 74.34. And then Volodymyr Myslivchuk is 9 centimetres behind that. So introducing our pole vaulters, the next field events that's due to start. Marijn Kieft there in the red, Elise de Jong. This is Lea Bachmann of Switzerland. 4 meters 50 at best, setting that last year. Felix Dernen of France. 4 meters 53 at best. She's vaulted 4:46 this year. Pascal Stocklau of Switzerland won the Francophone Games. Olivia McTaggart, this is, of New Zealand, 4 meters 71 at best. Oceania champion, has a couple of national titles, and finished in the top 6 of the world indoors as well. And then Angelica Mirza. 4 meters 88 she jumped last year, of course, Swiss national record. And yes, really emerging as one of the best in the world. I mentioned she won that European indoor title in 2021. That was certainly one of her biggest moments to date. But then winning the European outdoor title in Rome. She also got a bronze at the World Indoors in Nanjing. I know there was maybe a smaller field there in terms of quality, but still, when she's starting to rack up those medals indoors and out, you know, Kat Stepanidi did it, started doing it a decade ago really, and got lots more attention, winning at the Olympic Games, the World Championships, Europeans, and then suddenly she gets to the point where she's trying to defend everything, and she's one of the most revered in the sport, and also brings a lot of attention to pole vaulting from within her country. Greek hammer throws have done that consistently over the years. You've got Francis in this. You also got Anastasakis, often compete together on the circuit. So there's still Jan Chaussinon out front, 81.14 for a new meeting record. The Clermont Auvergne athlete already comes in as the European leader this year. Hammer is one event that can sometimes throw up unpredictable results, even if you come in as the leader. Chaussinon with that mark in May in Zagreb. And no one has bettered it just yet. The distance 81.91, new personal best. In the world this year, Ethan Katzberg, the Canadian, went out to 82.73 in Nairobi. And that was actually a week later, exactly at the end of May. Okay, so we've seen the women's 400 European under-23 trial. This is the men's. We've seen Nel Martinez. This is Murillo Priso. Plenty of spring in his legs. Felix Lavasseur. Representing Athletic Club 92. Is Wally Battili. 4 athletes on the inside here, starting off with Alain Lacroix. Really big moment for these athletes. Only ever under 23 once, or possibly twice. Some athletes do get 2 opportunities. Maxime Vasmer, but if you can make it in a somewhat high pressure race, you're all together, especially on a night like this with lots of international competition, then really would be quite something. Ahmed Regragui and Tom Morris on the inside, representing Entente Oise. So the standard for the European Under-23 Championships coming up very soon in Bergen in Norway. 46.90 compared 48.15 for the European Under-20s, which these athletes too old, but it is quite interesting to compare. certainly not impossible to see athletes go sub 45 at this kind of level, especially peaking sometimes in younger years. Sam Reardon is under 23 eligible, and he got a championship record at the European teams, 44.60, very impressive. And then Alexander Doom went under the old championship best as well, but it was a fairly gettable one that had been held by Havard Bendel Ingevoldsen, who's been another star of the age group competitions over the last few years. So this looks to me like Felix Levasseur. Eyes on the clock there. So let's see what Levasseur can do here. He's got others chasing, including Vasmer, but really pushes against the clock, 45.96. So you can see there that rubber stamps his place at the European Under-23 Championships as we understand it. So it's going to be a high standard for those medals across men's and women's 400 metre running. I mean, I'd be very shocked if it wasn't, but impressive performances in these trial races. Good margins of victory as well, you'd have to say. Nice strong running all the way to the line. You can tell he was pushing for that time on the clock as well. Results coming up very quickly. Officially given 45.95 for Felix Levasseur. Good reaction time as well, 0.194 out of those blocks at the start of the lap. I'll let you know how things are going along in the pole vault once things really get going, but it's still Jan Chaussinon out front in the men's hammer, 81.14 from Merlin Humble, 74.34, and Volodymyr Myslivchuk, 74.25. So no change there, and I suspect we'll rattle through fairly quickly, given that we do have just the 7 athletes involved with Arman Shabados. Late replacement then for Pavel Fajdek, man who's been dominant at the World Championships, winning 5 of them over the last decade or so. Nice to see the camaraderie between these athletes, all vying for positions. Obviously, I'm sure they'll put a relay squad together, quite likely. And therefore, those finishing a little bit further down still have that opportunity, obviously. Maxime Vasmer in second place, 46.60. And then you've got Benoit Mudia-Priso given the same time, but 1,000th of a second off that. Alain Lacroix in fourth. He was battling just behind for that second spot, 46.75. I guess you can take a maximum of 3. Top 4 all inside the standard. But French Federation may apply other criteria as well, of course. So athlete-liveresults.fr is your place to find them. We've had some junior events, under 14, under 16, and some national B races earlier, including over 200 metres. Emma Philippe, Frenchwoman, winning B race in a personal best of 24.29. Sound like a good race, that one. And then the men's 200B was won by Hedi Saihi in 21.46. So yeah, not bad times for national B races, given that they often contain athletes just looking to get a bit of experience at this sort of meeting early on. And there were some 400 metres, 800s, 15s. So you can see all those results on the website I mentioned. And indeed some 50 metres, rarely run 50 metres at the start of the day. But now we're into the main senior action, and we've got the women's 800 metres. Juanita Horvat there, of course, helped her Slovenia side to promotion at the European Team Championships up to the first division for 2027. This is an interesting athlete, Getachew of Ethiopia. One of the fastest here. As we look at Svart, the South African, quite a big contingent from her nation, in fact, here, as we'll see in the sprints and the hurdles later. What about Clara Lieber then? Lieberman improving this year to 1:59.46, getting the European Indoor silver in Apeldoorn. Angelica Sana, personal best in Hengelo last year, 1:59.63. She was close to it in Ostrava in June. Alongside her, showing that lane is Sukaina Hadji of Morocco. 2 minutes flat and we're about Diamond League at home. Charlotte Pizot, the reigning French champion, 1:59.93 she ran last year. A lot of athletes going sub-2 12 months ago. Lorea Eralthabal, she was another doing just that. And Kola Jani on the outside, the inside I should say. So athletes call to their marks. The women's 800 metres, Kolajani, Eralthabal, Pizot, Sana, Hadji, Lieberman, Svart, Getachew, Horvat and Agata Kolakowska, who I'm expecting is going to be pace making this race. Anita Horvat, 1:58.73 at best. It's often that 400 metre speed, 51.22 at best. That leaves her in contention to kick away on the last lap, but that was kind of run out of her. It was a victory for Carolina Bredlinger of Austria at the European Team Championships at the weekend, so I suspect that's given her a bit of food for thought. Nonetheless, I'm sure she'll be strong here. Getachew was the World Indoor silver medalist behind Prudence Sekadiso, an emerging South African talent. 1:57.47 at best, so not sure we'll get the split time here. Ooh, about 57.87 if I'm looking down at that clock there. So this is quick then. Let's see what happens. Getachew at the sharp end of this race. That looks like a Sukaina Hadji, who's one of the few in this race that's yet to break 2 minutes. The gap's building there. Clara Lieberman, who was a second in Apeldoorn behind Anna Wielgosz. Personal best in Monaco, 1:59.46, is in third place. So Getachew, Hadji, Lieberman making a move then on the outside, the French woman. And they're all trying to come past her, unfortunately. She'll try and cling on for a good time. But Getachew, this is a decent margin of victory for the Ethiopian. An emerging talent this year, 1:58.02 in 2025. Good battle on for second place behind, but Getachew pushing all the way to the line. 1:59.03 on the clock for the Ethiopian, and it was, well, a great split initially through 400 at 57.8. And Getachew very, very strong on the final lap. About a second off the meeting record, shy of the meeting record. I mean by that, that was set in 2018 by Emily Cheritage Touer here at this track in Tomblaine. You're watching live coverage on European athletics of this World Athletics Continental Tour meeting Stanislas du Grand Nancy. That was the women's 800 metres. It was won by Getachew, the Ethiopian. Clara Lieberman made that move, trying to get that second place, and she is rewarded in the end with a personal best, 1:59.18 it was in the end. Shana Spada, South Africa, mentioned as an emerging talent. Bronze medalist at the World University Games a couple of years ago. She got a personal best in Potchefstroom at home in April. It had been 2 minutes flat .34 before this year, so she's second place in 1:59.03, and then Lieberman 1.5 tenths behind, 1:59.18, and improves on her PB by nearly 3 tenths. Charlotte Pizzo in fourth, then just outside 2 minutes. But the second Frenchwoman home, and then Lorea Ibarzabal of Spain in fifth. Unfortunately for Sukaina Haji, she was really pushing to break 2 minutes. Brave performance out there, but she slipped down from second to 8th place in the last 150 or so, and is what's that, around 7 tenths off a PB. Shortly be underway with the men's long jump. Looked like the athletes were just being introduced to the in-stadium crowd. I can tell you that Tom Campagna, one of the local athletes to watch, personal best of 8:12. And yeah, Rael Maya, also saw him at Greece recently, if you were with me watching that stream. Some of the meetings, it was the Hania meeting, I seem to remember, Venezuela Hania meeting, 8:02 his personal best. And I suppose those are the two that I'd pick out. There's also Michael Masso of Cuba, 8:39 at best, and Christopher Mitrevsky as well, personal best of 8:32. So that's getting underway shortly. So we're watching pole vault bar here. So, we've got an athlete giving it a right rattle, but going over. Difficult to say who that was. It might have been Marijn Kieft. But the bar at the moment at 4:33. So the next event on track will be in a couple of minutes' time, will be the men's 800 metres.
Gérard Philippe, ancien international, qui a également travaillé pour la ville de Nancy. C'est un peu une tradition ici au meeting Stanislas Métropole du Grand Nancy. Le challenge Gérard Philippe, donc il y a du 800 mètres masculin. Regardez les gens de 19 départ
You're watching live coverage here of the meeting Stanislas, and we're watching the pole vault at the moment from this view atop the bar. We've seen Angelika Murza involved, and I believe there may just be a little issue that the production team working to solve, and so we hope to bring you some of the track action in the next few moments. Certainly keeping up with the results, I can tell you that Olivia McTaggart from New Zealand, along with Angelika Murza, the European champion, has cleared at 4 meters 43, and then we've got a number of athletes all trying to clear that height. 4:33 they've got so far, and they are Berenice Petit, as we see another athlete go over there, Marijn Kieft, Alix Dehaene, another French woman, Elise de Jong of the Netherlands, Pascal Stocklin of Switzerland. Unfortunately, Lea Bachmann going out at the early height of 4:23 with 3 failed attempts there, I'm afraid. But yes, Alix Dehaene, they're going clear at 4:43, giving the bar quite a rattle. So yes, we'll just continue with this for now, and hopefully we'll get a fuller view within the next few minutes. You can see also, it gives us a chance to see this other stand, I believe maybe on the back straight, where we've also got many of those seats filled, which is really good to see. Now I think that might have been Berenice Petit there. Or Pascal Stocklin, hard to tell from this angle, but Pascal Stocklin showing as the athlete currently involved, and Berenice Petit next to go. So we've got 4 athletes over 4:43. Hopefully the others can then join. Now it looks like Petit has just done so as well. So then the others are Kieft and de Jong. So I can also tell you that in the men's 800 meters, a great win for Francesco Panici in a personal best time of 1:44.28. Looks like a really strong race. We had 4 men indeed sub 1:45. You also had Mohamed Ali Gouaned in second place, Johannes Tefera in third, and Corentin Leclésio in fourth. So we saw the athletes flash across the screen. Looked like a really good battle between them, and it must have been a good sprint down the line. Francesco Panici, though, a personal best time for him. A really, really strong victory for the Italian. Of course, Italy retaining their title at the European Athletics Team Championships, having also won in Silesia a couple of years ago. Ben Patterson, for the British audience, anyone watching from the UK, opening up his season, finishing lower down the order, 1:47.09 for 9th place out of 9. DNF behind him, but still good to see him back out there. Commonwealth bronze medalist, world bronze medalist, Budapest 23, and yes, just getting up to speed once more. We've seen a few athletes like that, and it's more possible to do that in July, given that the World Championships aren't, of course, until September. But Panici actually had got a personal best at the European Team Championships recently of 1:44.39. That was second behind Mohamed Atawi of Spain, one of a number of fantastic Spanish performances, including from Yao Bestway, who set a national record, had been held for around 30 years by Sandra Myers. 1:44.39, bettered here to 1:44.28. So quite impressive with that. It was that. To Ferrer, also similar margin, just under a tenth off his PB as well. And Mohamed Ali Gouaned, just having a look, he was 0.04 of a second faster than he's ever run before. So yeah, good conditions for these athletes, with the sun setting, a decent crowd, and a meeting that's revered and well respected among the athletes as well. So a couple of other field events that we know have started. I can tell you that in the men's hammer, still pretty much as things were. Jan Chaussinon, that meeting record remains our lead, and it looks like he's wrapped up, so the competition is finished. Merlin Hummel remains second but improved to 78.55, and then Arman Shabados 75.41. So he had a really strong competition, the Hungarian athletes. And in this women's pole vault, so Elise de Jong, unfortunately 3 failures at 4:43. But everyone else made it over that was still vaulting out there. So I make that 6 athletes still involved as the bar goes up to 4:48, I believe, next.
Et au couloir numéro 8,
You're watching live coverage of the meeting Stanislas. Sincere apologies for some technical issues. And it looks like we are back on track. So this appears to be the men's 100 metre final. Bizazen, Hinchcliffe, Matsoso, Browning, Blake, Sarash and Karim. But the gun goes, and that just gives us a little bit of a moment to think about this race. So it's interesting that the meeting record has been set by Mike Rogers and equalled by Kim Collins. Two big names in the world of sprinting in years gone by. Let's have a look along the line here. Well, somewhat difficult to tell from that angle, but it was one of the athletes, might have been lane 6 or 7. We're counting along there, Sar or Ash. We'll wait and see what the officials do. We'll favour Ash with the fastest personal best in the field. The man who'll go from lane 7. Let's see if he will be starting this race indeed. PB of 9:79 from 2022, the Nigerian. Louis Hinchcliffe also in this race, 9:84. Last year, of course, real rise to prominence. Helping Great Britain and Northern Ireland get an Olympic medal in Paris with a bronze. It looked like he might have picked up an injury with a significantly slower season's best than you might expect in Savona recently of 11:65. I hope this isn't a DQ though. The black and red card is being held for Jerome Blake there, the Olympic relay champion. Protesting his case here, Jerome Blake. Really quite adamant about it. Jerome Blake, who with Aaron Brown, Brendan Rodney and Andre de Grasse won the Olympic title. It was a fantastic final. Really all to play for down the home straight. De Grasse coming through for gold. Akani Simbine getting the silver. And Akani Simbine has 2 compatriots in this. Let's try and listen to what he's saying. Well, he's absolutely irate, is Jerome Blake. Personal best recently in Dessau in Germany, 9:97, so has been in Europe a lot of this summer. Well, he's asking the official why is 100th illegal. I haven't seen his reaction time, but I wonder whether he's saying that it's extremely marginal, like 0.099, and that maybe is why he's saying that. Obviously speculating, obviously saying I didn't move anywhere. Look at the video. Well, it does look like he had some early movement in that video reasonably late in the starting phase, unfortunately for Blake. And I wonder whether they will allow him to race. So getting a better view of this pole vault. Sincere apologies for the technical issues earlier, and now corrected those. So yes, we were talking about how the bar was going up to 4:48. Angelica Mirza, Olivia McTaggart both leading. It's now at 4:53, and McTaggart has cleared. One failure for some of the other athletes involved. So here is McTaggart. So the New Zealander driving down this runway, then planting the pole, waits for it to bend up to 12 o'clock and over very quickly. And made that look remarkably easy. So I'm expecting that this is her clearance at 4:53 that we're watching now. Angelica Moser having one failure, as I say, along with Berenice Petty, Alex Dehenen, Pascal Stockler out now. 3 failures at 4:48. Maran Kieft passed at that height and has had 1 failure at this one. Elise de Jong, 3 failures, 4:43. Blake back in. I thought that might happen, you know. So irate was he. So hopefully we'll have a decent time here in this race. You've got 3 athletes that have gone sub-10 in the past, and Jerome Blake, the fastest of all this year, only by a small fraction, because Rohan Browning, who's 3rd on the Australian all-time list behind Patrick Johnson and Lachlan Kennedy, has run 10:01. Mamadou Falsar, the Francophone Games silver medalist, has run 10:03, and so has Sebo Matsoso, 5th best for a South African this year, such as their recent depth. You've got the likes of Benjamin Richardson, Sean Maswanganyi, Bianda Walaza and Simbine, so it'd be tough to get into their relay squad. Abdurrahman Karim, 10:06 personal best recently, 6th best this year for the South Africans. So Bizazen, Hinchliffe, Matsoso, Browning, Blake, who's reinstated, Saar, Ash and Kareem in this men's 100 metres final. So this time they do get away. Browning got a good start. Blake with a bit of work to do. Trying to push through is Louis Hinchliffe, going very well, but coming through on the line there looked like Mamadou Falsar. 10:04. It was Saar in the red, finishing quickly, and that's right on his personal best. Francophone silver medalist kisses the track here in Tomblaine. A good result for him. In the end, Blake and Hinchliffe given the same time, 10:08 second and third. Will have sent the adrenaline rushing through Jerome Blake as he finished very strongly in the last 10 metres, arguing his case. He really was seeing a bit of red mist there. It seemed like arguing with the officials, and eventually made his point. But Mamadou Falsar ultimately walking the walk. 10:04 looks to have been given as the official time, so it is just 0.01 of that recent new personal best. So you're watching live coverage of the meeting Stanislas du Grand Nancy. Results available at athle, ATHLE-liveresults.fr. This is the men's long jump. So leading at the moment is Gerson Balde, who we're watching here. I believe this is the 3rd round as he now accelerates to full pace. Oh, that foot placement might have been just over the line. Okay, it must have been close on the board. With that Adidas kit, it looks like he's got Go Faster stripes on his shorts. Let's see what this measurement is. 8:16, so no improvement there. Quite a still wind, or at least slightly in the athlete's favour, which, if it continues, would be good, but easier said than done. Christopher Mistrevsky in second place with 7.94 from the second round. And then Tom Campagne of France, season's best of 7.85 for third. This then behind the top three is Anvarov of Uzbekistan in fourth, 7.83 from the first round. So just the one athlete over 8 meters who has a lead of 24 centimeters. So Anvarov starting his run up far back by the other sandpit, now begins to rush along this runway, hair flopping about. You can see there just with the hitch kick trying to stop the forward momentum with that rotation, but unfortunately given as a foul in this third round. 9 athletes in total involved. Back to the pole vault though. So McTaggart leading, as we know. And the bar at 4.53. So that looks like a brilliant clearance from the Frenchwoman Alex Dehaenen, the Lille Metropole Club. So she's equalled her personal best. This is the second attempt and a successful one at this latest height. Stockland out of the competition. Berenice Petit, I believe, has a third attempt to come. Here's the European champion, Angelika Moser of Switzerland. So she has eyes on the prize here, and that is more comfortable there for Moser. A bit of a travel across, but still had plenty of height in order to clear. So McTaggart, therefore, our leader. She has a perfect card so far. 3 vaults, 3 clearances. And we wait to see on Berenice Petit. In the women's high jump, by the way, the other field event, we have a bar at 180, I believe, just gone up to Lucille Zay of Athletisme Metz, going at that, first athlete to attempt. Solin Jiquel, one of those who's cleared at 177, along with Charlotte Sorin, Lola Picard as well. Naomi Lavril out at 170, Julie Cranen, the Luxembourgish athlete, at 166. So small but competitive fields that we have. So we move on then to the men's 400 metres. Frederick Mendy of Senegal on the outside. Kokomo, South African, interesting athlete who's improved to 45.03 this year. Lane 7. Lee Epi, we saw his personal best in Geneva last month, 45 seconds exactly. Eduardo Scotti, who ran for Italy at the European Team Championships, he's improved to 44.93 this year. Had a big breakthrough at the European Under-20s, I remember, individually and in the relay as well. On to Zandrian Barnes, so 44.90, very closely matched with Scotti, Epi and Kokomoa, all the athletes that we've already seen, making this a very exciting race. Gilles Biron, key part of the French relay quartet over the last few years. World silver medal in Budapest, European bronze in Munich. Also an indoor 4x4 silver as well. Talking of relay success, well, Jonathan Secours across the world and Europeans, indoors and out, he has 9 senior medals for Belgium. There's another who helped his team get promoted at the European Team Championships in Maribor. Theo Hildebrand on the inside, one of the local athletes. That's why he got a good reception. And it's interesting, they've included the world, European and meeting records on the start list along with the club records for the Nancy athletes. I really like that touch, kind of equating them together and giving them opportunity to be on the same page as Wade van Niekerk. And you know, records are records, stadium records we sometimes see, and yeah, depending on whether you've had an event of this caliber, you may see an absolute load of stadium records, and then sometimes if it's the Diamond League that is always there annually, then you probably won't see any. I imagine most of them are identical to the meeting record in this particular situation. Meeting record, by the way, 45.34, so very, very attainable, I would say. That was set here in 2001, so one of the oldest records. So let's have a look how they go here. Been so impressed with the depth of the Botswana athletes, because yes, Isaac Makwala's national record, I should say, I was going to say meeting record, but still stands. But the depth is extraordinary. Epi, you know, trying to get into the top 10 all time. And he's going well here, as you can see. Scotty with some work to do on his inside. Another coming off those European Team Championships, but in Madrid. Kirkamoa on the outside, a real emerging young talent. Personal best over 100, 200 and 400 this year. And he's starting to challenge Lee Epi then. The South African coming up on the shoulder, but Epi is going to hold on strong here. 44.98. So he does go sub 45 for the first time. There have been so many athletes from his country over the last few years emerging, following that generation. If you like, led by Makwala, but you've got Kebanat Shippey, Basela, Scotch, Tobago, obviously. You saw him won the Olympic Games gold over 200 metres, but with real talent over 400. And they really do deserve to win big relay medals, given the strength of their squad. But Epi, just as he did in Geneva, looking strong and getting a personal best. Oh, officially it's been given as 45 seconds exactly, so equaling his PB from Geneva, but a meeting record by 3.5 tenths of a second. So Shane Nearme in 2001 setting that. I guess maybe they haven't always had a men's 400 metres here, and that could be one of the reasons. A great race there, and it was exactly a tenth ahead of Nana Kokamur, the South African, who, yeah, as I say, an emerging talent certainly, and interesting to see what he's capable of for the rest of the season. I already talked about South Africa's strength over 100 and 200 and just how many athletes they could put into a relay team, but yeah, in the past they've also been strong in the 400. They are the world record holders with Wade van Niekerk, so maybe they can put out a strong 4x4 team, especially given the opportunities that are there with the mixed as well. Some countries like the Republic of Ireland, for example, you know, two very strong women, particularly with Charlene Morsey, Rashida Adeleke, and then combine them with two strong men and you can get something like a European title. So lots of field action continues. I'll update on the high jump and pole vault in a moment. It's still Gerson Balde, 8.18 the lead in this men's long jump. Mitrevsky in second place, 7.94 still. And remains the mark of 7.85 by Tom Campagna of Stade Bordelais in third. Nice to give a shout out to some of the French clubs. Aniel Molina of Cuba on 7.66 in sixth place we're watching here. 7.61, no improvement. Let's have a look here. Tries to hang in the air. Gravity eventually brings him down, but decent consistency to this point. This is Potonnier. Oh, got up really well there and stayed up, kept those knees really high. Interesting to see if this lifts him up the standings. He has 775 from the opening round, not been able to improve since then. This, of course, being the fourth. Campagna's actually showing as retired at this point, so won't make any improvements. 732, that latest measurement for the Athletic Vosges athlete Julien Potonnier. Women's 1500 metres expected to come next, then the short hurdles finals, women followed by men, and then men's 1500 rounds off the programme in, I expect, just over half an hour's time. In the women's pole vault, just to give you an update, we've got McTaggart still leading, but 2 failures at 463. Murza soon to have her second attempt, so we could be about to see a change of lead. More on that in a moment. Women's 1500 soon to get going. So let's have a look at some of these athletes then. You can see Griffith, the Australian, 4th at the World Indoor Championships, where she set an area indoor record, in fact. So also there Gaia Sabatini, Laura Hoffman, who we quite often see over 800, Sophia Nawi, who's had some great battles over 1500 with Laura Muir over the last few years, getting a silver medal at the European Championships in Berlin 7 years ago now, gosh. Aurora Fleury, so she's one of the local athletes representing Nancy, and decent time of 4:10 this year, but she actually holds the club record of 4:03. Clearance there in the high jump, which I'll bring you up to date with soon, because that might have been Solène Giquel. Bar at 182. Giquel clearing at 180 at the third time of asking, so that's allowed us to move up to that new height now. Well, seem to be taking a couple of attempts to start this 1500 race. Don't often see that. So in this one, just having a look along the lineup. I think they might be testing the gun. So we'll just give everyone a mention at this point. So Listimont, one of the local athletes on the inside. Her club teammate Aurore Fleury, Jocelyn Vint, Swiss athlete, improved this year to 4:05:04. Sophia Enoui, as mentioned, European silver medalist and bronze in the past in Munich in 2022. PB 3:59:70, but quite a bit off that this year. In a couple of seasons since we've really seen her at her best. Laura Hoffman, who's quite often had a really strong finish in the 800 metres. She was 4th in Munich, indeed. Her personal best this year, though, 4:05:77. Often a good racer. Gaia Sabatini, yeah, again, maybe a couple of years since we've seen her looking quite as strong as we know she can be. Of course, she had one of those athletes who helped Italy win the European Teams crown a couple of years ago. That was also the year, in 2023, that she won the European Under-23 title. Marta Perez, the experienced Spanish woman, someone who's quite a number of occasions been in the top 8 of the European indoors. She won the Spanish mile title quite recently, but we can see there Griffith at the front there, the Australian. So yeah, 3:58:40 at best, one of those that you definitely expect to be challenging here. And just a glance across the lineup then, no one's gone sub 4 yet this year. Maybe not surprising, haven't quite had the right opportunity at this point. You've also got the the experience of Maureen Costa, someone we quite often see at 5,000 metres, and someone who's got 7 top 8 finishes at the Europeans, either indoors or out. And we saw another experienced Spaniard, Esther Guerrero, on the start line. Looks like she's in second place behind our pacemaker here. So let's have a look then. Griffith against the clock. The meeting record set a couple of years ago by Melissa Courtney-Bryant, the Welshwoman, 4 minutes flat .45. Griffith is pushing here, so yes, very similar to her season's best, that indeed the season's best of quite a few others in the race, like Marta Perez, who's 32 years of age now, but her and Esther Guerrero, who's 35, still performing very, very strongly. Guerrero, who's 5th indoors, she's still in that battle for second place. It's really hard to get a proper glimpse until they come through down the home straight, but you can see they're locked in a great 5-way battle out there. So Griffith working hard here. Having a look at that in-stadium clock, 2:39 coming up. You can still see Guerrero there behind. They're closing the gap just a little bit now as they hit the bell. And that sound still ringing out. You can see that Griffith just dropping off a little bit of those wave lights on the inside. She's continuing to push out there. So the Australian in this pink vest. That gap now being managed quite well. Staying solidly around that same mark. Griffith, there's no let up in her focus and her determination to finish strongly in this last 200. They are still beginning to close though. It's small increments that are being made up, and I think Griffith is starting to hurt now. And look at the speed being unleashed. So Guerrero is in this fight. Esther Guerrero, the Spanish woman, fast finishers on the outside here. And what a brilliant race to the line this is. And a time of 4:01.60, so just outside the meeting record. Set a couple of years ago. Jocelyn Vint down the outside there, passing the experienced Esther Guerrero. And Jocelyn Vint, that is quite an impressive victory given the sculpts that she's claimed, and given that she's an athlete who before today her fastest time was 4:05.04. So best part of 4 seconds off her PB, the 24-year-old two-time Swiss champion. But what a stormer, and you have to remember just how big that gap was and how it had to be managed. So tactically she's run a phenomenally astute race. Timing that one extremely well, and that's a sort of performance that will delight her coach. Ignored effectively what was going on in front, just focused on herself. It's a bit of a cliche. So from one Swiss athlete to another, let's see how European champion Angelika Murza is getting on. Well, unfortunately, 3 failures at 4:63 for Murza, who we had seen going along pretty well until this point. And McTaggart as well appears to have failed at this height, but it goes down to the fact that there was 1 failure at 4:53 for the victory. I don't think it's about necessarily the victory and the loss. It's more about the fact that Murza had higher ambitions for herself, hence a disappointment. You can see in some ways the victor is Alex Dehaene, who equalled her personal best, 4:53. Interesting that after doing so she elected to go 10 centimeters higher. So those are the live results. So we're just checking out what happened during that 1500 race. McTaggart at 4:63 then. Let's have a look. Oh, and she had the height, and I think she knows maybe today isn't her day, but that was within her grasp. So a little to separate McTaggart and Merza. This is Merza at 4:63 then. 4:80 this year for the Swiss. The European title indoors and out. You can see not able to execute and get up there. Merza, who's 27 now, so yeah, no longer one of the youngest athletes. Winning her second European indoor title in Apeldoorn, as I say, a champion indoors and out. World University Games winner as well in 2021. Now, high jump, let's catch up. 184, the bar's out. This is Solène Jiquel, passed at 182. So again, happy to go through higher increments in order to get where she is now. Lola Picard, 3 failures at 182. But Jiquel still ahead of her on countback, so she's not losing out too much in terms of competitive performance. Just going for the individual height here at 184. And that's the third time she's brought the bar down. She did well to stay in the competition at 180. We just caught a shot of it a few moments ago. So Lucille Zay, 3 failures at 180, best of 177. And then Charlotte Sorin, 3 failures, 180. Picard, 3 at 182. And so it's like we're losing one athlete at each height. That's been the pattern over the last half hour or so. Jiquel still with 2 more attempts, I make it a 184. And the men's long jump. Well, Tom Campagna retiring at the end of the 3rd round, it looks like. So Anvar Anvarov with 789 even has moved into 3rd. Balde here still leading with 818 from the 1st. He has had 2 other jumps over 8 meters and nobody else has done that. So 3 of his jumps out of the 5 would have won the competition. Always the mark of a great athlete. Well, leaves us with 1 more round to go because he obviously finishes the round given that he's leading the competition. Rayo Mayao actually had 1 jump and then retired as well, so everyone getting all 9. And Michael Masso doing the same, so the rounds will come through quite quickly now, given that 9 is now down to 4, I make it. Oh, that's quite interesting, not sure what that is, but same for Potonnier as well. So it means that the first athlete we'll see in this last round is Piotr Tarkowski. Polish athlete, 760 so far. And he needs 7 centimeters to go up a place into 6th. Results coming up nice and quickly on the French Athletics website, athlete.liveresults or -liveresults.fr. Solène Jiquel at 184, approaching this bar much better that time. We've seen some brilliant high jump competitions, some good battles out front. Watching the likes of Angelina Topic and Tatiana Gusin, Morgan Lake in Greece. Jiquel, the only athlete left remaining at this height, which is a bit of a shame, but still she's going to try and make the most of the opportunity in the night in Nancy. So one athlete in the high jump. Pole vault looks to be concluded then. And we know that long jump, there's a few athletes left to go in the final round. Wonder whether Jiquel would go up to 186 next. 3 races on the track to come. So Paulina Lett on the inside. This is a strong group of athletes, as you might expect. Judy Chalcou, another French woman. Then Alexandra Webster, personal best in Kentucky last year, but also 12:66 PB in Texas last weekend. Charisma Taylor. From the Bahamas, 12:63 at best. Sasha Alessandrini, a PB in Geneva, hugely impressive, 12:77. Of course, there was a heat and a final, just a final here, but really gives you a sense of the athletes that are putting the races cleanly together. This is Rainier Jones, 12:59 personal best, the fastest in the field on paper. On to Laura Montauban, very close to going sub 13 with a 13:02 clocking recently. And then Franziska Schuster, the German, who has one national title to her name. She's improved this year to 12:94. So the women's 100 hurdles final, then the men's 110 hurdles and men's 1500 meters. I'd say again, it's a reasonably attainable meeting record here. It was set by Eunice Barber, the heptathlete in 2005, 12:89. French lead this year is that time of 12:77 that I mentioned of Sasha Alessandrini in Geneva last month. So Lett, Chalcou, Webster, Taylor, Alessandrini, Jones, Montauban and Schuster. The women's 100 metres hurdles. Jones, who goes from lane 6, personal best 12:59 that I mentioned was set last year in Eugene, and it's she that's leading from Alessandrini just about, with Taylor trying to close. But unexpected, the fastest athlete in the field is out front at the end of the race, Rainier Jones. Had run 12:83 this year. And just waiting out for that time then to have a look at what the clocking was. Breaks into a smile, does Jones. America, Caribbean and Central American under-23 champion a couple of years ago. Very, very smooth here. Alessandrini, really good opportunity for her to test herself against a fast athlete. Looks like she came home in around 4th place there. Let's tidy that up. So yes, Alessandrini in 4th. And that time, 12:94, 0.01 behind Alexandra Webster, the American. Rainier Jones, 12:82 officially, ahead of Charisma Taylor, 12:90. Well, the entry list showing Eunice Barber meeting record, 12:89 from 2005, but French Athletics website showing the meeting record as 12:73 Cindy Biot. So I guess you have to believe the faster and more recent time on that occasion, despite the difference in data there. So 4 athletes sub 13 seconds. Montauban 13:25 in 6th. We'll have to wait another day to do that for the first time. Final round of the men's long jump continues then. Haven't really seen much of Mistrevsky, but he has remained in 2nd place throughout. Finishes with unrepresentative 6:47, 7:94 his best. Looks like he will remain second. Stanislas guaranteed a victory. Passed at 186, straight up to 190 here. Summons the strength, but ultimately not quite enough at that height. So this will be then the final jump of this competition that we're watching here. Gerson Balde, 8.18, but he's been consistent beyond that. Portuguese athlete has 3 jumps over 8 meters and 3 jumps within some 14 centimeters of one another. You're watching live coverage then of the meeting Stanislas. So Balde getting a good reception from a strong crowd here, darting down the runway here, building acceleration, transferring that energy into lift, and what good lift it was. Gets the white flag. Oh wow, that was very, very close. Still waiting for this to come up. 8.03, so no improvement, but yeah, all of his measured jumps would have won the competition. Really, really impressive for the Portuguese athlete. Petrevski second, 7.94, Androv third, 7.89. Earlier, Jan Chaussinon got a meeting record in the men's hammer, 81.14. Merlin Hummel second, 78.55. Armin Shabados, 75.41 for third. It leaves us with 3 things to conclude. Stanislas obviously having more time now. Between attempts, 2 more to go at 190. Wasn't carrying any failures when she passed at 186 and was able obviously to choose the height that she wanted. Men's sprint hurdles, a couple of minutes behind the schedule here, but they're coming up shortly. And meeting record 13.12. Possible for athletes to challenge that, would have to be at their best, I think. For the likes of Orlando Bennett, the Jamaican, Olympic finalist Willem Bellossian, one of the home favourites, along with Pascal Martinot-Lagarde, Aurel Manga as well. We're going to see them in 3 consecutive lanes, which would be something quite special. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you're watching for that. Stanislas, jacket off now, ready to go in this high jump. Controlled acceleration. Not enough height there with that second attempt. So you can see the hurdles remain out as expected, and very shortly we're going to introduce these athletes. The men's 110 meters hurdles. Earlier we saw a really, really good race in the women's 1500, won by Jocelyn Vint, and it was a personal best by considerable margin, around 3.5 seconds. Had run 4:05, but this was 4:1:59, overtaking long-time leader Georgia Griffith. Right, men's sprint hurdles, Milan Trakovic of Cyprus, another who was at the European teams. Cyprus unfortunately going down to the 3rd division. Couldn't get them enough points, but battled hard out there. Former European indoor champion. This is Theo Pedre, personal best 13:49 this year. Could see him at the European Under-23 Championships, 20 years of age. This is athlete from Niger, Segiru Badamasi, Francophone Games silver medalist. On to Orlando Bennett, the hot shot here, 13.09 his personal best. He's 0.01 off that this year. 7th at the Olympic Games in Paris. And then the Frenchman, Willem Belocian, European indoor champion 4 years ago in Touer, Poland, during the pandemic. 13.07 at best. Aurel Manga, a previous medalist at the World and European Indoor Championships. 13.20 for his PB last year. Look at the determination of this man. He'll get a big reception. The legend of sprint hurdling that is Pascal Martinot-Lagarde. 7 times a European medalist, including indoor gold in 2015, outdoor gold 2018, 4th and 5th at the Olympic Games in the past. And what we're talking about, great South African sprinting. Antonio Alcana has been in the game for a while, 35 years of age, but I'm sure he'll be as delighted as anyone to see just how many names are beginning to emerge, like Walaza Richardson, Maswan Gagny, and some of the others that we saw earlier, adding to some of those that we hope would reach the very top. Kani Simbine ended that long wait for a medal last year. Who else? Emil Erasmus and Asa John Wadwana. Some great names, and hopefully they'll achieve some individual success this year. Antonio Alcana, multiple times an African champion. Good to see him still hurdling very well. 13.46 this year. Remind you of the meeting record, 13.12. Bennett, maybe it's in reach for him. Belocian, if he's in good shape. So Trajkovic, Pedra, Badamasi, Bennett, Belocian, Manga, Martinot-Lagarde and Alcana. Watch out for the 3 Frenchmen, all alongside one another. Bennett alongside them. So good start from Badamasi there, as we see Bennett starting to come through here. Belocian, Willem Belocian, with a fantastic victory on home soil. 13.26 on the clock. And he's beaten some real quality athletes. And when you saw that pink vest leading, you thought, oh, that must be Bennett with the 13.10. But actually, it was just the man alongside him, Belocian, on home soil in Nancy. Very much impressive. And well, yes, maybe his teammates Manga and Martinot-Lagarde, you might expect him to be the faster of the 3, certainly for recent form, and form in the last couple of years is to go by, but to beat Bennett is quite impressive. Badamasi, 13.40, a new personal best, was impressed with the way that he started, but did fade a little bit in the second half of the race. In the end, it's officially given as 13.25. Martinot-Lagarde reaching for second place though in 13.36. That's his fastest time this year by over a tenth of a second. And then Aurel Manga 0.01 behind. A French 1-2-3. Given that Bennett has run 13.10 this year, maybe it was just that home advantage. 13.58, not the sort of time that you would have expected him to run. Interested maybe to have a closer in-depth look back at his race. So Teo Pedra making it 4 Frenchmen among the top 5, very close to his 13.49 PB, just 0.03 off it. Trajkovic, yeah, slightly messy race in 8th place, 13.64, half a tenth behind Alcana. High time to go back to Solène Gicquel against this bar, 190. Oh, I thought she might have done it. Not to be today. Charging towards this bar, controls the acceleration. Takeoff looks from that angle to be fairly close to the bar that she was trying to clear at 190. Still victory for her again on home soil. some of the hurdles have been cleared, at least on the inside of the track. Men's 1500 metres coming up shortly. So in this men's 1500 metres, the last event of the night, we've got Andrew Coscoran, the Irish record holder, 3:30.42 at best. Romain Monet, the French reigning champion over this distance, 3:31.62. He's improved recently in Paris. Similar to Georgia Griffith in the women's race, who was a long-time leader, we've got an exciting Australian in the shape of Jude Thomas. He won the Australian mile title in April. Personal best in Ostrava, of course, the Golden Spike meeting towards the end of last month, 3:32.07. It had been 3:37 before this year. You've got Louis Gilliver, a Frenchman who's close to that, 3:32.2 recently. Twice in the top 6 at the European Indoor Championships. Ryan Mufalele, part of this great South African contingent. It's not just in the sprint events, it's in the middle distance too. He's an African silver medalist 3 years ago. Personal best in Dessau in Germany last month, 3:22.2 also. 3:32.4 is the best for Baptiste Michler, won French title in that year in 2021. A former European under-20 silver medalist. We've got Maël Gouillet, who was very close to a medal at the World Road Running Championships in the mile in Riga. The 4th place, Charles Grethen, who until fairly recently, until this year, did have Luxembourg's best ever finish at the European Indoor Championships with a 5th over 3,000 metres a couple of years ago. And holder of the records in the mile, along with this distance, 3,000 and 5,000. That's the young Dutchman there, Rick van Riel, who's one of the pacemakers, Coscoran, Gilliver. So these are the athletes I've already mentioned here. Soon to get us going. There is Jude Thomas. So more than 5 seconds improvement this year. Obviously we saw that in one race from Jocelyn Vint, the Swiss athlete in the women's 1500. Fantastic closing speed there. Really good tactical discipline as well. And we've also got Paul Odiash, European under-20 steeplechase champion from 4 years ago. There's Jack Anstey, another Australian. Titouan Legris, Amias Germa we've also seen, the Ethiopian World Under-20 silver medalist. Kenneth Brooks of the USA, Anisette Kozar of France. 14 racers and 16 men out there on the track. Baptiste Michler there on the outside. I've already mentioned Ryan Mufalele. Another name I'm excited to see. And an interesting race to call. Apologies that we didn't see that men's 800 metres because it was a great burn up in the last 10 metres or so, I gather. And the winning time of 1:44.2. Pretty impressive from Panici, the Italian. So let's have a look here then. Got the pacemakers, Akbash and Van Riel out at the front then. Charles Grethen, actually one of the Nancy club athletes, so he holds the club record at 3:32.86. And then the meeting record held at 3:31.60 by Reynold Kipkorir Cherry at the Kenyan. Of course, the world leader this year is a Frenchman, Azzedine Habs. 3:27.49 set recently in Paris. And that within a second of the European record set by Jakob Ingebrigtsen last year. But they're really pushing here. You can see the two pacemakers out front. And then single file behind. So the announcer really trying to G up the crowd as they come through here. So you've got Jude Thomas in a strong position at the sharp end of this race. Really hard to see that in-stadium clock. Got Baptiste Michler stuck in the middle of this pack. And this looks like it could be another really strong battle towards the closing stage of this race. So one pacemaker still involved, leading them out. You can see 3 sets of wave lights, so certainly one will be the meeting record at 3:31.60. So still very much all to play for. So it's Mufalele out front then at the bell, round 2 of 6:11 on that very hard to see stadium clock. Mufalele, the South African silver medalist 3 years ago, 3:32.27 at best. Maybe recently set that one in Germany in Dessau. And now they start to come past. They start to queue up right behind him. 4, 5, 6 athletes all trying to win this race. Mufalele overtaken just as Griffith was, and he didn't have that big advantage to start with. Coscoran is fighting there, the Irish record holder, 3:30.42 at best. 6th place in Apeldoorn and Nanjing, the European and the World Indoor Championships. He's on the inside as Guerrera was. She was overtaken by Vint in a big personal best time. This is still anyone's race. Here comes Jude Thomas approaching the line. What a performance to come through for victory for the Australian, avenging maybe the defeat for Griffith, a long-time leader in the women's race. Australian does win this time in the men's. So just outside his personal best for the Australian mile champion. Well, the Aussies love their 1500 metre running. We've seen some fantastic athletes emerge over the last decades, including Ollie Hoare and Stewie McSwain and others. Up front running as well at times, but Thomas was patient. He was around 3rd, 4th, 5th place, hovering around. You can see here, obviously we've still got Akbash and Van Riel, the pacemakers, involved at this time. Coscoran on the inside, the Irish record holder. Mufalele, the improving South African in the red. He's just run out of things here, but what a change of gear